This is the sluggo, slant and go.
Oh, Casey the Beef Creek, and guess what? Yeah, I haven't done it again. I messed it up. I've been struggling, they say. Today I told you I lost the interest, so it's a little bit different, a little bit shorter, but let me just get more of these beautiful faces. Fellas, how you doing? Locks, a little rough week last week, but how you doing today? Your confidence was down a little bit, but sounded like you were back. Machine this afternoon.
Yeah, I'm back. I feel all right. You know, it's just demoralizing. Sundays are always rough after a long weekend. You know, good weekend of football overall, but just I bet big on the wrong team. How about that?
Yeah, no doubt. I know how that goes. And like I told you guys on the text, Monday was a little rough for me because I had 428 beers and it was a good 150 degrees outside. And my wife says, "Let's grill," and I was like, "Oh." And I look like the guy in the GIF I sent, just sweat just pouring off. I think I lost about 7 pounds. Beef, I know how your weekend went betting. How did it go otherwise?
Oh, it was good. It was great to have college football back, and even with our loves, but Clemson losing and not really showing up. I thought it was a great weekend of college football. There was great games all over, up and down the dial. It even bled into Sunday night, having probably arguably the best game of the weekend with Florida State, Notre Dame, and Monday was a little bit. I actually took Monday off from football. I kind of was glimpsing at it, but otherwise, it was great, man. I thoroughly enjoyed being able to sit on the couch watching good football.
Yeah, I took most of that Monday game off too. I watched a little bit of it, but it was whatever to nothing at halftime. That was enough for me.
I'm really interested in Ole Miss. I like Matt Corral. I like I'm one of the few that really likes Lane Kiffin. I like his style. I pull for them a little bit. Don't tell my bosses who are Mississippi State I love. But man, hey, Kevron, great to see you. Hello to Cope, the whole city of Cope. Wow, you're going to the game Saturday. That's fantastic. Cheer extra hard for me, all right?
Awesome.
Appreciate you listening.
We're off to a rousing start with 3 comments already, 2 from Palk, who's probably in the juice, and Kevron, and I say that, nothing intended, Palk.
One thing I noticed really out of all these games, and I didn't think it was going to be that big a difference to viewing on the television, and obviously everyone was talking about, is that you don't realize how much you miss the fans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, incredible. Just the roar of the crowd just really brings something different across the broadcast. It was pretty cool to have him back.
Man, that Virginia Tech game on Friday night was unreal with
Electric.
The crowd.
Yeah. The Wisconsin-Penn State game was insane. You know, it was up and down. The crowd was going crazy when they did their jump around thing. It was pretty neat. The whole place was rocking. It was neat to see. You just forget how you take it for granted, obviously, after last year.
Definitely.
And you wonder, we'll get to Clemson in just a minute on our agenda, down a couple of notches there, but you wonder if and how much that affected DJ, right? He had 2 great games last year with limited fans. There were some at Notre Dame,
Sure,
but nothing like he faced Saturday night. So you kind of wonder if that had any effect on him. I know he went to a big school out in California, but it wasn't the same as it was in Charlotte on Saturday night for sure. Hey, fellas, I know this is going to shock you, but we got Big 12 expansion going on. Apparently, they're going to invite BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. Cincinnati is expecting an invite and will accept, reports are, as early as Friday. So does this and in response to that, the AAC said they're going to expand. So how long before Wofford is in one of these conferences? Is it ever going to end is what I want to know. And Locks, let's get your opinion first on the Big 12 expansion and what that means for the rest of whoever's left of the alliance or whatever.
Well, it's the game of musical chairs. Eventually there's going to be someone left out, right? It has to happen eventually. It's just only so many spots, so many spaces, and so many conferences. something's going to have to dissolve. And we thought obviously coming into this that the Big 12 was going to be the one left out, but they're making a push to stay alive. That was the thing I sent y'all. I'm still alive. I thought they were gone. But I think it's funny. These teams are pretty fitting for Big 12. Think about BYU and think about Cincinnati. They're into not playing a lot of defense and running up and down the field a lot. So they should fit right in if it's all accepted and moves on. So we'll see as time tells there. But still, how many years until all this goes all the way down? And I'm sure much more will change.
And there's our first Bishop Sycamore reference besides Casey's shirt, obviously. Houston saying Bishop Sycamore. I'm thinking Smoking for Jesus has a future. The
I looked for shirts, man.
They've got them. They've got one. It doesn't say Smoking for Jesus. It just says Eagles. I would have bought it for you, but it just says Eagles. The hoodie says SM. I don't know.
Right.
It's got the initials. There's no Smoking for Jesus.
Yeah, let's put that out there.
And it's 5,000 degrees. I didn't think you'd want a hoodie necessarily.
No.
Yeah. But Beef, your take on this latest expansion news?
Yeah, so I'm late to the party. I had a busy day today. I did see Cincinnati was going to accept the invite, and I think that's great. But to see these other 4 schools, I think it's smart. I really believe that the BYU leaving the independent world and latching on is going to help them financially. They've been a player the last couple of years, at least just to be a thorn in people's sides. Last year, especially with Zach Wilson at the helm. I think that's really smart of BYU to latch it on. I think it's smart of the Big 12 to grab these 4 teams. Is it a step below Texas and Oklahoma? Sure, absolutely. But now you're adding conference money, definitely more than the AAC money, to these 4 schools. I think it can only help them, and it's going to boost the schools, and it's going to keep them relevant for a little while. I like it.
Relevant for a little while is probably the optimal phrase.
It could be next week's title.
And as what Locke said, who knows? Somebody eventually is going to get left out, and I don't know who that's going to be. But it's just crazy. You just don't know who's doing what, and they I don't think they know either, right? It's like who's talking to who, and you promised me you wouldn't, and the Big 12 was yelling at the SEC for taking teams, but the SEC is taking teams from the AAC, and it's just crazy, man. It's
a merry-go-round. It's like a coaching carousel, but now schools. So it's going to be fun to see where the AAC goes. Who are they going after? Like what schools are going to go there? Conference USA teams, and then it's going to keep trickling down. This is not going to end anytime soon.
Well, I would think they would go through some Sun Belt teams. Coastal Carolina,
Louisiana,
Troy.
Right.
Troy. That's what I would think. And I heard some. They were worried that Coastal wasn't going to be a long-term success. I'm like, dudes, they got a national championship in baseball. They're always good in baseball. They're really good in football. I don't know about basketball, but I mean, what do you want? You're not in a place to be saying, no thanks. We don't want any national champions over here. We'll just stick with our, Cincinnati.
And they're in a great spot, and they have some history there, so they're going to have a little bit more money now. Yeah, Coastal's going to be a good get for somebody too. Definitely.
Yeah. Casey, all those folks from up north, and Zach, born in Ohio, all those teams from up north want to go down to Myrtle Beach and party down.
Yeah. Grand Strand, baby. Grand Strand.
All right, guys, we got Houston Burnett in the comments now. It means it's time to talk about Clemson, Georgia, and the aftermath of what we saw last Saturday in Charlotte. Now, here's what I saw. An inept offense, a dazed and confused DJ Uyunglele, a horrendous offensive line, but an amazing defense. Miles Murphy, Andrew Booth, James Skalski, Brian Brzee, they looked really good without Tyler Davis. And obviously, Landon Sanders got hurt. But the thing that stood out to me all this was for 10 years, all the way back to Taj Boyd, we heard Clemson's playing with fire by running the quarterback. They should not be running. Remember that guy, Ed Cunningham?
Yeah.
Every play he would say they should not be running. They're putting him in danger. And so here they're playing the biggest, baddest defense apparently in college football, and they're saying, why aren't they running the quarterback? Why is it Clemson running? Because there's nobody behind him. That's why. There's zero. Casey could be a better quarterback than what's behind him, and that's saying something. But anyway, an inept offense, except for the connection to Ngata, there just was nothing. 2 yards of rushing.
And the Lynn J. Dixon run.
Yeah. The one singular 10-yard run, never went back to him. I don't know. I was, I frustration texting you guys during the game. It's just really frustrating. But on the other hand, listen now, everybody is saying that Georgia, crushed Clemson and had a great game. They scored 3 points on offense. It was very even, except for, the pick six, which Georgia won the game. No slight to them. Congratulations. But it wasn't like this butt whipping that, the national media seems to want to imply. Casey, let you go up first on this one.
A famous philosopher, A. Ron Rodgers, once told people on radio, RELAX. I think for Clemson fans out there, you need to relax. It was a primetime game with Georgia's defensive front alone. The linebackers were all over the field, but their defensive front, we don't even know what their DBs are. No one does because they didn't really get tested. DJ didn't have a chance. But it's game one. They lost. It was 3-3 on offense, really. If DJ runs or somebody, they run a play down at the goal line, maybe they score 7 there to make it even closer. They had a chance to win the game with 4 minutes left, or to tie the game with 4 minutes left, and just stalled on offense in Georgia territory. There were some glimmers of hope, and I understand where Clemson folks are saying because or are thinking because they haven't had this issue. Well, they've also had Travis Etienne behind Trevor Lawrence. They've also had Amari Rodgers. They've also had Hunter Renfro to be that guy. No, and Justin Ross admittedly didn't have a great game on Saturday. I thought Ngata was fantastic. I thought the defense is wonderful. You're not going to have to worry about them one bit. Andrew Makuba, who thought he was going to be as good as he is? You all right? You spilling stuff on yourself?
2 sips of beer and I'm throwing stuff.
It stinks that it stinks that they lost. Okay, it stinks. And I think what they say, Tony Elliott's 82-8 as offensive coordinator. 82-8, and people are sending him hate mail and hate tweets and stuff like that. Relax, Clemson fans. It's one loss. Yes, the narrative now turns to they don't have a ranked team on their schedule. It's still really early. You're going to get an NC State ranked. You're going to get a BC ranked probably at some point. You're going to get somebody's ranked. Relax. Clemson is going to be okay. They still have a 95% chance to go to the playoff according to ESPN FPI. Relax.
They're never wrong. Hey, John Chancey agrees with you. Chimed in, said Makuba was fantastic.
Look at Houston.
And Houston says, but what shall I do if I cannot panic in the streets?
It's so Houston, frustrating.
You need to talk to my nephews who I was about to tell them to grow up, and then I realized they were Casey and Zach's age. And I was like, okay, they're never going to grow up. They're 40-something years old, right? They're just one play, like, oh, here we go, Peach Bowl, that kind of thing. I just turn off the text.
I'm no sunshine pumper, but I'm also not doom and gloomer either. Right. DJ's going to be fine. Those 2 games that he played last year where he was fantastic are not aberrations. Like the sample size is now 3 games. In 2, he was wonderful. So I think we're going to be okay.
Casey, you got your own hashtag there.
I need it tonight. I love this guy. He knows he's one of my favorite people on this planet too.
And he's not even making fun of you.
And I haven't really met him yet.
Locks, what's your take on Saturday's debacle in the eyes of a lot of people?
Well, Marty, I've known you now for a couple years, and Beef, I've known you since we were in college. And one thing I'm not known to be is what? An optimist. So
we call it Eeyore. For
not even about your own picks.
I mean, honestly, one of the best pictures I have is from when I went to Disney World for the first time, and I had my picture taken next to Eeyore. So that is truly one of my things I'm known for. But my biggest takeaway was the play calling and not really any adjustments at halftime. And that's a big thing that I think Clemson's always been really good at, especially on the defensive side. Venables will just change it up crazy, at halftime, which we love. But he didn't have to so much this time. But for the offense not to change the play calls around, I think, we were texting at halftime, like, he's got to do something, roll him out, get him out of the pocket because the pocket was collapsing so quickly on him. You have to run him. At that point, he would need to design a couple of runs just to open it up and press the defense back a little bit to give him some breathing room. Never happened. It really disappointed me. To your point about the conference and, BC being right, man, buddy, like the ACC is.
I'm just saying it's early.
It's early, and you better pray, because it wasn't pretty across the board for the entire conference. I understand. I didn't read that much, and I didn't want to because I didn't want to hear anymore. These are literally my own thoughts. I have read and watched a couple of things. It's just you can just look at the conference up and down. Half the teams lost in the conference to inferior opponents, most of them too. So Georgia's a very good football team. A lot of Georgia fans, obviously here in my neck of the woods, had nothing but great things to say about Clemson. 2 top 5 defenses in the nation, I think, at the end of the year, even still. So is what everybody thinks too. But defense was fantastic. They're just really disappointed that the play calls didn't get a little more creative. And the playbook may not be all the way open yet either. They usually build on them as the season goes. So maybe there weren't that many plays to be had, but I just would have loved to see something tried or changed after halftime to open it up a little bit and to give the kid some time, because he's a great player and he can take a hit. I mean, look at him. He's a beast, Put him in space.
He did take a couple shots.
He did take a couple, but he was all right,
Yeah. And we all, like you said, we're texting at halftime. I was very disappointed in the play calling. I let some of my frustration out because it almost seemed like they weren't trying. And man, I hate when my kid says that about the Houston Astros, but that's what it felt like. So I kind of get what he's talking about. It just felt like, okay, if he goes back, if he drops back, we're going to get him killed. So, let's hand off up the middle and lose 3 yards and punt. That's what it seemed like. Wait for mistakes. And even when they got the mistakes, the drop, the fumbled punt, the interception, they couldn't do anything with it. So extremely, extremely frustrating. Now, the next 2 games don't appear to be real tough. Georgia Tech, got upset by some directional school last week, and we know what South Carolina is. But on the 25th of September, fellas, NC State.
They look good.
NC State with the defensive line, right? John Chansey says Clemson is back under the radar so they can work on fixing problems. That's true.
That's so true.
I just hope and pray by September 25th we see the biggest improvement on that offensive line before North Carolina State shows up on the schedule. And if I remember correctly, that game's in Raleigh.
Yeah, it is.
A house of horrors for Clemson in the past.
Yes, good point.
Now, they got to improve a lot in the next 3 weeks. They can certainly do it. I'm not that down on them. I texted my nephews, as I was saying, they were all negative, doom and gloom, Peach Bowl. I put 11-1 is what I texted back. So, but I'm just saying they need to improve before September 20th.
Yeah. This is a get-right game, though, isn't it? I mean, I think for both. You're going to see, if you want to even hold on to the Georgia team for another week, it's a get-right game for them, too. UAB is a little bit of a step up from South Carolina State for Georgia, but it's a get-right game for both of them. I guarantee both put 40+, maybe even a 50 burger on them, just for grins this weekend.
Well, and I saw the last thing I'll say on this game is I saw right before we signed on, JT Daniels is questionable this week with a midsection injury. So somebody's stuck him pretty good. I don't think they were playing with children, like the tweet said. Somebody stuck JT Daniels pretty good. He may have to sit out this week. So.
That's so funny, Zamir White, with that tweet. He's had 70 yards and a fumble, and he's talking trash. Get out of here, guy. They call you Zeus. You're soft. Calling you out, Zamir. Oh, sorry.
You got him.
Houston Burnett says, just remember Dave Dorn is the Toby from the office. Final thoughts on Zach, you got any final thoughts on Clemson, Georgia?
No, I mean, I think we covered it all. I think Georgia's they're set to go to the Final Four from here with their schedule. Clemson can still make it, obviously, but you look at that Georgia schedule, beat Florida, and you should just cruise right along. They have Remember too, when I said breaking news last week with the COVID thing, all of a sudden, they got 6 guys out, 7 people out. So like you said, get right for them. Then they got Vandy coming up, and then I think the next one after that is South Carolina. So they should be sitting fine. Yeah.
Vandy, who lost to East Tennessee State, by the way.
Rival.
Yeah.
They're playing UConn. Is it UConn this week? I think Vandy has.
I think they are. New coach over there.
Talk about a game cure for insomnia.
Take the under.
Take the under and get some sleep.
He'll be a veteran of 3 days on the job Saturday. So Anthony Weeks says Bishop Sycamore. Yes.
Been a fan for a long time, Anthony. Long time. Since the beginning.
That's last week, by the way. Hey, Alabama crushed Miami in a surprise to no one. Ohio State, though, a little bit C.J. Stroud, a little bit shaky. He is no Justin Fields over there. And Oklahoma barely beat Tulane.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on those 3 games, Locks?
Just tragic injury to the Minnesota running back. Was it Achilles? Is that what they finally said? Or was it – I don't know what it was, but he's done for the season. Because he's a pro. He was a hoss running up and down on their defense. It makes you wonder just how hard the defensive practice is at Ohio State this week because they were just letting them loose. And that was a super entertaining game. Minnesota is so easy to root for. The coach and the story and just the whole 9 yards, and that crowd was going crazy too. And it was football weather. You had a little rain too, like 50 degrees. It was awesome. It was fun to watch. And whenever Ohio State's in the thick of possibly losing, it just gives me the tingles, makes me happy. They pulled out, man. They have better athletes. There's no doubt about it. Olave, the wide receivers, quarterback kind of caught on to it, and I'm sure they'll build from that too. But I mean, good for Ohio State. They start off with a conference game, then they got Oregon coming in. So normally it's Cupcake Central to start off, but we'll see. They'll have another test coming right up here.
Speaking of which, that's what Mac Brown said. Usually they start off with a cupcake, and we're playing a top 5 team or whatever the heck he said. Beef, your thoughts on those 3 games?
Yeah, I thought they were great. Again, I really enjoyed Ohio State, and like Locks was saying, any time that Ohio State is up against it, I'm all for it. I have friends, quote, and acquaintances that are Ohio State people, so it's nice when they lose to make sure that he knows, or they know, excuse me, that they did. I make sure that I drill it in a little bit. Really enjoyed that game. My Heisman pick on this show is C.J. Stroud, so I didn't like his first half performance for clout here on this show, but once he found number 2, Chris Olave, man, in the second half, they couldn't stop him. But like Locke said, Minnesota kind of ran out of juice once Ibrahim went out. As far as Oklahoma, man, Tulane was tough. They played them hard. I think Rattler is going to be fine as well. I'm not worried about them, but that defense still is suspect. As much as they say it was the best defense Oklahoma has in 20 years, that's against Tulane. I mean, as good as Tulane looked week one, it's still Tulane, right? Yeah. It's not Ohio State. It's not Bama. And what was the other game that you said? I don't know. Miami, Alabama. Get out of here.
Yeah,
there were plenty other 330s that were better, so I didn't turn it on.
We're talking about a week 1 overreactions. Has there ever been a bigger one than Spencer Rattler for Heisman? 3 hours later, he's not even the best quarterback on that team, right?
Caleb Williams.
What happened? He was the Heisman Trophy front runner 3 hours ago. His team won the game, and it's still not good enough.
He's not Sam Howell, right?
No doubt. Palk says OU, OSU, etc., but Notre Dame has problems. Please, yes. Notre Dame blew a 18-point fourth quarter lead. Beats
That's
Florida
a good
State.
segue. That's next on our list.
The Notre Dame Minute.
Beats Florida State in overtime. Great game. A lot of fun to watch, especially watch Notre Dame blow that 18-point lead. But here's what I took away. I take away different things than you guys do. Here's my takeaway from this. Florida State has been getting nothing but love for losing the game. We can talk about Notre Dame's problems. I think they were kind of obvious. Florida State with the big plays. But Florida State is getting – I heard Danny Cannell. I heard Bud Elliott, all the Florida State. Oh, this is great. Well, what are you? it's a repeat of North Carolina, right? Because it's an emotional story, Bobby Bowden Day, all that stuff. They're getting a ton of credit for almost beating somebody. Beef, what's your takeaway on this game?
I agree with you 1,000%. They almost beat somebody. I heard somebody say the other day that after week 3, it's going to be the same old Florida State team, and they're probably only a 7-win team. But I thought they looked really good late and in spurts. Mackenzie Milton, what a great story he was. But I don't know if they needed to take Jordan Travis out of the game. And even in overtime, it looked like Milton was kind of over his skis a little bit too much and fumbled the snap. Mike Norvell icing his own kicker for 15 more yards after the kid makes a 50. There was a lot of – Florida State had a chance to win that game, or at least tie it or not win it, really. They had a chance to win it and then kind of blew it in overtime. But, yeah, as we see in our comments here, Palk is our resident Notre Dame guy, and he's definitely a homer, and he's definitely an apologist, and we love him for it. But I think, wow, they're talking about Kyle Hamilton, who's a very, very good safety, but there was times that he was flat out beat on runs by their running back. So I don't know. I'd pump the brakes a little bit on his Heisman campaign from the safety position, because that defense certainly, that hashtag Freeman factor was not a factor against Florida State. So if they run up against somebody better, Ches Malusi in a couple of weeks may run all over that defense. We'll see.
Or no doubt. And I want to acknowledge Danny Ray Satterfield. I don't remember that name from the show before. Welcome in, Danny. Appreciate having you. Thought the Seminoles won. Dang it. I think we all said dadgummit in our own version of dadgummit. Locks, what's your takeaway from the Florida State Notre Dame game?
We were texting during that game too. I shut it off. They went down 3 scores, and I was like, well, there goes that. Turned my phone on the next morning. I was like, holy cow, it went into overtime. And then to read the whole story about Mackenzie Milton was just fantastic. I mean, awesome. he stole the whole weekend. Just the story. I mean, who would have thought that he took off 33 months from playing football and then came back and throws like a 25-yard strike on his first pass. It was fantastic.
That was a heck of a throw.
That was
Holy
awesome.
moly. Yeah. What a throw. Falling great. Backwards, about to get killed too.
Yeah. Just to stay in the pocket and still be able to compete. It was great. But another great stadium, Florida State, just rocking. That place was loud as it can be. I've been there for a game, and it was – God, it was awful being there. That chant was just horrendous. But that's college football. It was great. It's ingrained in your brain for your life once you've heard it live one time. It's crazy. But yeah, it was good. You hope they're back, but like you said, maybe in 3 weeks they just may not be back. They've just been an emotional thing. I hope not. Florida State being good's like the Cowboys being good, or Notre Dame being good. It's good to have them good in our conference. It brings the whole thing together. It ties it up. So one thing I do want to mention is I think the Notre Dame quarterback, the new quarterback, is very Notre Dame-ish. Is that a word? It's just they're doing the job. Just nothing, he's just
nothing flashy, yeah.
No, and that's okay, but it's not going to get you over the hump, I don't think, man. He's okay. He's Notre Dame-ish. Is that a word?
Jake Coker won a national championship.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but Jake Coker had some guys on the outside that could separate, and I didn't see a lot of that from
O.J. Howard.
Yeah, Mike Palk said I was going to have him chime in on the quarterback because he made him out seem like he was going to be the Heisman winner, right. And he was so thrilled to have him as a quarterback. And he may be better than Ian Book in the long run, but he's not. Yeah. Didn't look like a national championship quarterback to me. Houston says Notre Dame-ish equals boring. Yes. Danny Ray says it sucks as a Tiger, but it's better for college football. Seminoles good. I was going to say, Danny Ray, I was in response to Casey, I'm perfectly happy with them sucking. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me one bit after taking the butt kickings for years and the smart aleck comments. I'm just okay. And another team up there, I think, started the season number 6, Iowa State. Barely beat Northern Iowa. Now, I'm hearing some rumors they were just really vanilla and weren't even hardly trying because they got Iowa coming up this week, which we'll get to in the picks, by the way. But this was my team to be the flop for the year. I didn't see a second of the game, but they beat Northern Iowa 16-10. Anybody see any of this game or have any thoughts? Locks?
Yeah,
I didn't see a lick of it, man. I honestly didn't even realize they played until it was well over. It was just like, wow, okay, so this is your number 9 team, or what are they ranked? Eighth overall. Ugh.
Yep. Beef.
I think anytime you have a close game against a directional team that you should beat, I think it's always they were vanilla, right? I think that's always but Breece Hall, whatever the running back, and Brock Purdy, I think that they have some flash. This is a big test this week against Iowa. We'll see. This is a better barometer today or Saturday than I think we saw on the past Saturday. So I'm still hopeful that they win the Big 12. But I think you might be right here, Marty, and I don't like saying that. You know that.
Well, Oklahoma didn't look good either, and I watched Texas. They did fine. They were not. They didn't overwhelm Louisiana, but they didn't make all the mistakes they've been making for 12 years now or something. They did fine, and so and I know one of us has a pick on the Texas Arkansas game. So Locks, unfortunately, it's time for us to pay up to our dear leader, Beef. I don't think you could have done any worse if you tried.
Well, I take that as a victory.
These guys are doing research, so why should I? Beef, you stink the most.
A true believer in what they're doing in North Carolina. That's why I'm picking Virginia Tech, Tennessee.
I love Spencer Rattler.
I agree with Marty.
I don't like this.
Look, you smell it, the backdoor cover.
Yes, I still love Spencer Rattler. It's only been a week. He's had a bad week. Sometimes the wife has a bad week. I hope she's not listening. But he had a bad week. I still love Spencer Rattler. And here's the results. And I cover up the winner of the two losers' faces are still there. Zach was negative 250 Sluggo bucks. He nailed the under by 100 points on the Clemson Georgia game. Indiana and Iowa. That was a little questionable for a while, but you also nailed that. And the third game, which you bet, I think 500 on, was
800. Yeah, I bet a bunch on it.
It was not questionable, and you took it in the shorts.
Yep.
Beef bet big on Rutgers minus 14.5 on accident and won 1,000. He pushed. He got lucky, or UCF came back and pushed -5. And then he cheated and copied my pick, took NC State minus 18.5 and won. He came out 1,500 Sluggo bucks ahead. I'm in the middle here, guys. Not on the screen, but in the standings here. I'm up at 190. Took Ohio State. They won by 14. Remember, I said I wouldn't have taken it if it got to 14. I took NC State, and Mac Brown can kiss my beep. So. Casey the Beef Cregan, you have 11,500 Sluggo bucks. I've got 10,190. Zach Locks Parker, 9,750. You have a commanding, quick math here, 1,310 point lead over me and a lot more over Zach. Let's leave it at that. And we're up for week 2. Casey, you're the winner, so I'm going to let you choose if you want to go first.
I'll go first.
What's your first pick?
My first pick, I'm going with. I'm going to ride the bull, right? I'm going to stay on this dance with the girl you brought. I'm going Rutgers -2 over Syracuse this week. I just think they put up 60 points last week against a decent Temple team. I don't have faith in Syracuse at all. I'm going 500 Sluggo bucks. Rutgers -2.
500 Sluggo bucks. Rutgers -2.
Spoiler alert, Marty. I'm just betting the 1,500 that I won. So the worst case scenario, I'm back to 10,000. So that's what I'm doing this week.
Well, I'm glad you decided to go first because I'm going to go second. And right off the bat,
fight, finish him, fatality. Excellent.
I'm going to take Syracuse on this game. Right. Do you know how Rutgers scored 61? Did you know?
I watched it. I actually watched it with a Rutgers, my fellow Rutgers insider.
Insider.
You'll love it.
Look at that. Keep chopping. Houston, burn it. I'm going to take Syracuse. Casey, did you also know this game's at the loudest stadium in college football, also known as the Carrier Dome, the hottest stadium in college football because there's no air conditioning in there? I'm going Syracuse +2. I'm getting 2 points. What more could I ask for? Syracuse +2. I'm going to also – no, I'm not. I'm going to put 300 Sluggo
I
bucks
knew
on
it. I knew he couldn't do it.
300 Sluggo bucks on this. I'm conservative on these games, and I don't want to end up like Locks did with LSU.
Yeah.
Locks, what's your first pick, Buck?
I am going to go with another under here. Tennessee and Pittsburgh. 57 points. And again, just like last week, I'm still flipping a coin if I want to do the over or the under. So last week I went with both the unders. This week I think I'm going to go over, and I feel so confident I'm going to bet 250 on it. That's
250
all.
or the over. I've got to change one of my banners because I was so sure you were going to take the under because I sent you that parlay where the guy picked 14 unders.
All the unders,
$79,000 or whatever it was. So Tennessee Pitt Locks takes the over, which is confusing me really because it's breaking the mold, the Locks mold. Beef number 2. What do you got, bud?
My second game, I'm going with Florida minus 29 over University of South Florida. I'm sorry, Jeff Scott. I want you to get fired from there and come back home to Clemson. So I'm going to keep riding whoever's playing USF. It's like back in the day with the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns. Bet on them. So I'm going Florida minus 29. Not sold on their offense at all, but I still think they beat USF handily.
I think at the most they need to score 30 points for you to win. Maybe 35, maybe 35-3 or something like that.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about a 35-7 or something. I guess I know I don't cover at that point.
No. Something like that. South Florida is horrible. I said that last week when I picked them, but 29 is just too much. Yes, 500
Sluggo bucks.
500 Sluggo bucks. And I don't know if this is going to change your mind, Casey, but I pulled the juice and it's minus 112. So instead of 110, it's minus 112.
I hate that. Oh, it is what it is. It happens. Yeah. Sorry.
All right. Locks, bet. I'll go second. I'll go ahead. Go second. Okay. This is the game that I don't think anybody on this show agrees with me on this bet. I'm taking Iowa plus 4.5 over Iowa State. And it's not because Iowa beat Indiana last week because it was kind of a fluke like the Rutgers thing with turnovers, fumbles, and pick sixes. And it's not because Iowa State, barely beat Northern Iowa. It's because if you look at the history of this game, Iowa wins. Or at the very least, it's typically a close game, right?
Where's it at, Marty?
It's at Iowa.
Yeah, I think that's a big help too.
They're playing at home. They're getting 4.5 points. They're the more physical team, I believe. Now, Iowa State has some good players. We know that. Breece Hall and Purdy and those guys. But it's a different brand of football. I think this is like water and oil or whatever they say. I just think Iowa may lose, but give me 4.5 points. I think it'll be close. And by the way, Matt Campbell has never beaten Iowa. A little fact. I'm educating the people here. He's a superstar coach. He just can't beat the middling Big Ten team down the road. So Iowa plus 4.5. I'm going to go 200 on that one also. Zach, your second pick.
You really sold that, Marty. Holy smokes. All the stats you had to back that up. That was great.
He's our resident Lee Corso.
Research. Let me get the corn. I need that corn. No, Hawkeye. I was thinking
Hawkeye. That's what it is. Out there in the country. My next one is Coastal Carolina, 25.5, favored over Kansas. Past 2 seasons, Coastal beat Kansas in 2019. Barn burner, 12-7. Last year, Coastal beat Kansas 38-20, and this year they will stomp Kansas, the worst team in college football.
They won last week.
Doesn't matter. So they're second worst. They are terrible. They have Kansas averaged 2.1 yards per carry versus South Dakota last week, if that tells you anything, okay? They're awful. And I am riding Coastal here hard. I think they're just going to – they had like 52 points last week. I don't think they're going to let Kansas score much. Put me down for $750. I'm chasing hard. Let's go, boys.
Wow, 25.
I like it.
I like it. 25.5.
I learned it by watching you.
Boy, that's kind of scary.
That's not good.
That one's minus 110. I meant to tell you the pick game is only minus 109, so you're coming out ahead on that one.
Okay.
All right. Man, 25.5. Kansas is bad, but that's a lot of points to lay.
They're bad.
Your confidence is back. It was just a little malaise over lunchtime.
Yeah.
And you're like an hour later, I was like, man, he must have had a Red Bull or something because he's all up in my face on this one. All right, Beef, your third and final pick of the week.
My third and final pick, I'm going Texas. I'm that guy you were speaking of earlier, picking Texas minus 6.5 over Arkansas. This probably has more about my dislike of the SEC and the dregs of the SEC West than it does maybe with Steve Sarkisian. I just have faith in Texas winning by at least a touchdown against an Arkansas team who won last week as well. So Texas minus 6.5. Once again, we'll keep it at 500 because if I lose all of them, I'm back to 10,000. But that's not going to happen. So
minus the juice, right?
Correct.
The juice on this is 115. Unfortunately for you,
that's
Beef.
okay.
And they looked good. I was impressed. I'm probably the least. There's another team. I don't care if they're ever back. I don't care because I lived that literally. Like 98% of my coworkers, probably much like Locke these days in Georgia. 98% of my coworkers. All right. Who cares? Hey,
are you saying Matthew McConaughey's all right is a fight cry for the Longhorns? Can I switch my pick?
They looked like a competent team Saturday. Now, again, it's Louisiana, and you're playing a Sun Belt team, a good Sun Belt team. But Texas looked competent, and I'm a little worried about my future, the way Clemson looked and Texas looked. I might Beef, when you buy a house in South Carolina, get an extra bedroom. I might be moving in with you. All right, I'll go. My final pick is, Casey, your bosses are not going to like me. I'm taking NC State minus 2.5 over Mississippi State. I believe this is down in Mississippi. The juice is minus 110. I'm going to go, what I did, 2-2. You guys are betting big, and I'm going to stay at 2 because I expect some losses on your end.
What?
Well, it's on the road. If they're in Raleigh, I'd bet more. But it's on the road, and I already won a game with NC State. What's the chances of me winning 2 NC State bets in 2 weeks? And it's sizing up to who am I going to bet on September 25th when Clemson goes to Raleigh? Who knows? But 200 on NC State minus 2.5 over the Fighting Mississippi State Pirates of Mike Leach. Locks, your last pick of the day.
All right. Best for last, as they say, right? I've done a lot of research on this one. So I found a pick'em game.
Oh, God.
No line. Just pick the winner, baby, right? Eastern Carolina versus your South Carolina Gamecocks. Line was, what did you say, Marty? ECU was minus 2.5?
2, I think.
2. And then it went to even where I locked in at. Now we got South Carolina as a 2-point favorite.
Ooh.
Pick the winner.
Nice.
What's this say?
Oh, God.
Gamecocks, baby.
Oh,
now for 1,000.
1,000 on the Gamecocks.
Boom.
And hey, Locks, how'd that work out for you last week? Picking
It's working, baby.
over the silly baby blues of UCLA. Wow, 1,000? He's really trying to make.
He wants back in the game. Yeah, he wants back in.
71% on the ESPN matchup prediction.
You guys are crazy betting all that.
I mean,
this is real money.
Not my money.
The quicker I get rid of it, the quicker I don't have to do this anymore.
Oh, look at this. We're playing for this, fellas. This is no joke. $4.95.
Great in my office.
Looks like the UNC turnover belt.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, Casey, I don't know if you knew this, but when you went up by 1,500, or you're not quite up by 1,500, but close to 1,500, 1,310, I believe. I decided to call Locks and check him out and see how, because he's feeling kind of down, right? We talked about it.
Pissed.
And he said, "Don't worry about it. I got it covered. I'm going to take care of him this week." And I had one response for him. I was pissed, and I had one response.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass. Now.
But I'm not crowning you because this thing.
Long way to go.
Yep.
Hey, it's early. We got all the way to December. That's
my
really
track
good.
record is not good at this stuff. So.
And let's see. There's Beef's picks. Rutgers -2, Florida -29, Texas -6.5. I'm not saying anything, but you picked all favorites. Chances are
Not good.
I don't know. Locks. Coastal -25.5. His Tennessee Pitt under 57 and South Carolina pick. All the Gamecocks have to do is win. How hard could that be?
Right.
My picks. Iowa +4.5, NC State -2.5, and Syracuse +2. I'm not feeling good about Syracuse, but I wanted to get up in Beef's face and scare him a little bit. Let him know I'm not scared to take on those Scarlet Knights. All right, that's fun, and that's our picks for this week. Hey, Beef, haven't seen the Chop-In Beef in a couple of weeks. You guys back tomorrow, or are you guys taking another Thursday off?
We're back tomorrow night. We're ready to rock and roll. I had to take a little introspective couple weeks for myself, just trying to get this thing back and wheels back on it. College football's here. We got some stories to tell. I haven't told Locks yet, but we got some stuff going. We got some good topics in my brain. Yeah, we're back tomorrow night. We're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I don't care about the other two guys.
Back, baby.
He's back, baby. That's all it takes. Casey, how about thank the folks out there, and we'll get out of here. Locks, it's good to see you again.
Absolutely.
I'm glad your confidence is back.
No, just wait till next week.
You're
under the table.
you're either going to be right up there with Beef, or you're going to be right down there with Vanderbilt.
We'll see.
Thanks so much to everyone in the Facebook group, especially Nelson Wilhite, who's climbing mountains out in the great Northwest. For all this help and support, everyone on Seldom News Reserve Sluggo Podcast, each and every one of you who listens, likes, and comments. We appreciate all our commenters, shares, and participates. On behalf of, what's your name? Zach Locks Parker.
That's me.
Marty, Seldom News Reserve Coleman. I am Casey the Beef Cregan. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Sluggo. We'll see you next week.
If Anna Alyssa is listening to this, they're not in the mail, but they will be.
I think we're done here.